The government made an announcement a week ago that they were going to inject $1.3 billion into the post-secondary sector to recognize the financial difficulties everybody's having. That sounds like a lot of money, is it?
It covers inflation for the next 3 years, and that's about all it does. So about $1 million, well, I mean, technically, I think about $700-800 million is for operating grants. There's a bunch of special purpose grants, and then there's a $200 million fund, which sounds like it's application-based, to compensate people for lost revenue from international students.
So the colleges and universities would have to apply for that money.
And they say they will give it to the neediest of the, and it's not clear how they're going to judge that. And are we talking total dollars? Are we talking percentage of dollars? And I suspect that funding is not all coming, any of it may not come this year. So we don't know how the numbers are being rolled out. I suspect it's actually back-end loaded rather than front-end loaded. So, but if you just say, $400 million a year, a little over $400 million a year for 3 years, yeah, that's a little bit more than inflation. And so it means that we won't get, the per student funding isn't going to get any worse, but it's still going to remain 10th out of 10, as it has been for nearly all of the last 40 years.
10th out of 10 provinces in terms of per student funding.
Yeah.
Peggy Sattler, how do you look at that $1.3 billion injection of money?
Well, the province had just gone through an exercise to appoint an expert blue ribbon panel to make some recommendations on how to deal with sustainability of the sector to ensure colleges and universities have the funding that they need. That panel made what some people describe as a very modest recommendation that a minimum of $2.5 billion is needed in increased government operating grants.
So we're a little over halfway there with this.
Yeah, and plus that panel had also recommended that there be additional revenues for colleges and universities through increased tuition. So what the government has offered is much less than that blue ribbon panel had advised, and it doesn't take into account the federal decision on the international student the cap, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Adil Shamji, your view.
As is so typical of this government, they provide a little bit to everyone, but never enough for anyone. This is too little, too late. We're dead last in the country for funding post-secondary education, dead last for funding operating. We're dead last for contributing provincial GDP, contributing from our provincial GDP to post-secondary education. We have, an unprecedented situation. 10 of, I think, 23 public universities reporting deficits right now. We have one university with many of thousands of their staff on strike. This is a drop in the bucket. And at the same time, for as much as the Premier might say that he's got the backs of students, not a single dollar is going towards OSAP in the midst of an affordability crisis.
The Student Assistance Plan.
Exactly. It's simply inadequate. It misses the mark entirely.
Mike Schreiner, your view.
Well, I think the Premier and his minister needs to go back to college and university to study math because their math doesn't add up. I mean, first of all, as Peggy said, the Blue Ribbon panel said $2.5 billion over 3 years. They gave 1.2, half of that. That was before the federal government made their decision to cap international students. That's going to cost universities $1.8 billion. So the $400 million per year over the next 3 years is like 20% of just dealing with the cost of the international student cap. Ontario, as my colleagues have said, ranked last of all provinces. If we want to even get up to the national average, that would be funding of around $7 billion. So it doesn't add up, and it's hurting our students, it's hurting our economy, and it's hurting our post-secondary education sector.